Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast. I'm 10 Types, as I was joined by Uncommon Fossil.
Hello, and glad to be here today.
Yep, and today we are talking about Pokemon cards, as always, but we're talking about balancing cards, as well as some other things like card design stuff, because obviously the Pokemon TCG, there are a lot of different cards, but there are some cards that are a lot stronger than other cards, and potentially a bit problematic, right?
Yeah, I think some cards are too strong. Obviously, there's a lot of just bulk cards, but we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to try to sort. We don't really need a thousand like mediocre cards to just choose from either. But some cards better than others, but some I think are clearly are too strong.
Yeah. And so today we are talking about them not just in terms of tweaking numbers, because tweaking numbers can be an interesting topic, and we'll do a little bit of that. But ultimately, it's not like super exciting, right? I feel like it's I don't know, it doesn't really it's not a super interesting conversation, and not always like the solution either.
No, I mean we'll talk about that some, but definitely we want to talk about other ways to address the issues too, which will I think get more involved and more interesting.
Yeah, but I used to make a bunch of card design videos on my YouTube channel. I will say, I don't know if people are interested in that. Do leave that down below in the comments. But ultimately, I kind of stopped doing that for I don't know why I just kind of didn't. But I had four criteria that I'd go through. Partially the way it worked had to do with like voting on like the way the YouTube changed polls. And anyways, so I had four criteria that are in my opinion all weighted equally. The first one is fun to play in a vacuum, as in like when a card gets revealed, like what are your thoughts to the card, things like that, and then how fun is it to play within context, like within the meta, within paired with like very specific combinations, and how fun is the card to play against, and then how balanced is the card. We're mostly focusing on balance today, but those other things are also very important in good card design, and I'd say some of the issues with some of these cards is that they are obviously they are imbalanced, but they're also not fun to play against, potentially because they're too strong, but also potentially for other reasons, like the play styles that they have.
Yeah, it's a good way to break it down. I was a little confused because we were going to talk about card balance, which is the main focus, and then one of the 4 points was balance, which confused me. But card design balance is obviously a big issue. Fun to play with or against is a bit subjective. I probably, that one's tricky, right? Because obviously there's different play styles people like, and I think I think all like control decks and stuff are good in some in the game, even though they might not be fun to play against. So fun might not be the best word, but
I don't know.
some
I
way
feel
to.
like I feel like if a deck isn't ever fun to play against, that's like bad. I feel like, but then in terms of fun to play with, you have like a diverse amount of decks you can play with, because as you said, each person has different things they want. So having more options is more fun, possibly. And then again, the fun to play against thing. I don't know. I mean, Pokemon doesn't have a lot of control, like very directly control cards, right?
Well, I mean, I guess like they wouldn't print a card like Black
Well,
Snorlax,
that's not in the game now,
right?
and like standard right
I
now.
know, but control is down right now for sure. But there have been times it has been good. And look, I think some amount of control is good for the game. I think it's healthy in a sense. Um, so I think a little more control wouldn't even be bad for the game. Um, in a sense, although wall decks are still performing pretty well, people don't like to play them a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and I'd say those aren't super fun to play. Like in terms of design for those, we're not really going to talk about them.
No.
But I don't think they create they're not like super fun to play with, because they don't create very interesting scenarios. And they're not obviously not so fun to play against, because either one, your opponent just like completely stops you from doing what you want to do, which isn't fun, or two, they are going to not really stop you, and then like I guess it's like you beat them up, but like that's about it. And then the interesting scenario
Yeah.
is that like interesting middle ground, but that doesn't come up too much. So I'm not a huge fan of the wall designs. But anyways, we're not
Yeah.
really talking about that today.
No, I mean, but to me, a fun deck is often a meme deck, and I don't think we need a Pokemon TCG to be all meme decks either. So,
Yeah,
um,
well, I
you
think
know,
that the meme decks are fun because they're bad, and then once they're good, they're not meme decks anymore.
I guess that could be the case. So, anyway, I think we can get in the discussion. Control's not a factor. There's one card I think we're talk about that if we removed it, it could make control too good. It was as I thought about it a little bit further. But what let's start off with Pheasantipity EX because it's a super great card, right? Basically every deck plays one copy of it. Pretty much no deck plays two copies. I could be wrong on that too, but there's very few decks that don't play it. Right, because of its ability, right? Flip the script. Pokemon's knocked out during your opponent's last turn. You draw three cards. Super good. I think a card that's basically in every deck without thinking about it probably is too good of a card.
Yeah, and it's not in terms of how it works within games, it's not super fun. I mean, it's kind of cool to like it kind of counters Iono, which is a strong card, and
Yeah.
I kind of like that, getting sent to a low hand size where you might have what you need or you might not. It's kind of just a gamble. Resident Evil kind of removes that random element, I guess, but it's not super fun. In some sense, prevents counterplay from your opponent as well. In terms of that like disruption there, and then it also, as you said, it's like super strong. Um, and you also said it's because it's obviously very good, but it's also like exclusively a one of. So. I don't know. I feel like in terms of a change for this card, actually no. I don't know. I want to hear your proposed change first.
All right. Well, the first change, which is the boring change, would be to reduce the HP, right?
Yeah,
Now, if you're going to do that, I would say you probably need to go all the way down to 160.
yeah,
And if you did that, then you have to think about it because obviously giving up two free prizes, two cheap prizes, I wouldn't drop it to 200, but to 160 where they could chip away at it because we do have some spread things. Over 2-3 turns, they could knock it out would be problematic. But that's not so interesting. I think what I would like to do, I propose making the conditions to draw the three cards tougher. Now, you could also just make it draw two cards, but that's a little which actually probably might be balanced.
yeah.
I wouldn't mind that, but I think making it tougher to actually qualify to draw the three cards is what I want to discuss some. But why don't you talk about the HP and the drawing two cards first?
Yeah. So I was thinking, like in terms of HP, when we look at a lot of these like good support cards over the course of the Pokemon TCG, generally there's a lot of like two prizers that have low HP. Resident Evil EX HP, I guess is I don't even know if it's on the lower end. It's lower than like most of the attackers, but it's not low by any means. And compared to Squawkabilly, which does have 160, Resident Evil EX is tanky. So yeah, lowering the HP kind of it just fits with a lot of their previous designs and obviously helps balance it. And then on top of that, it's ultimately lowering the HP. I don't think it's going to change the card that much, which is kind of like the point. But also, again, I don't know how much impact it'll have in the game. If everyone's bossing it, they're probably knocking out. If they're spreading damage, it could matter, but it might not matter. And then reducing the number of draw obviously makes it weaker, but it doesn't like remove the idea of the card. But I think it would be interesting if they made it draw one, but it could stack with multiple Fezidipti EXs, allowing you to have it as more of a I don't know, more like serious part of your deck as opposed to a one of inclusion. You could have it as a one of inclusion, and it's going to give you pretty minimal value, and it might not be worth that much. But you can have it as a four of for like really a lot of draw, but at the expense of a lot of bench space and a lot of deck space, and just being like a little more clunky. But I don't know, I feel like that would be pretty interesting there.
That would be interesting. I feel like it would be a different card then if it
Yeah.
stacked at one.
Mhm.
If you know what I mean, because I think that would be an interesting card. I don't think the game has. Um, I don't. Like I said, it just feels very different to me. Having to fill up your bench, I kind of like it. I think it. The weird thing with Pheasantipity is it keeps you going once you set up, but because it only works once you got knocked out, their first turn, second turn, it's not necessarily doing much for you, right? Until if your opponent doesn't set up, it doesn't help. And you not setting up, it doesn't do much, which is always kind of weird. So filling up a bunch of those on the bench, I'm not sure that I would like the way that would work. I think it would probably just get ignored in like 90+% of the decks if that was the case.
Yeah, it might make it too bad. I feel like the issue with it in standard, it's too strong, but support cards being too strong isn't necessarily a huge issue. Like with Nest Ball, that's like not on our list of cards to talk about, right? But like Nest Ball is
Right.
arguably too strong. But it's not problematic, I wouldn't say, right?
Right, and another card that's really good. I mean, there's some other options now, but like Professor's Research, which I don't think we're going to say is too strong, although it is insanely powerful. It helps you set up and things that consistency help you set up. I think is good for the game. So I don't think I'd take out a card like that.
Yeah.
Um, what I was thinking is try to keep it to draw three once per turn, but make it so it doesn't trigger quite as easily.
Yeah.
Which could be it has to be only if your active Pokemon's knocked out. So if your opponent's hitting the bench, they can get around Pheasantipity. It could be KO'd from damage only. So if they're placing damage counters, it doesn't trigger it. Or it could be like KO'd from your opponent's attack, right? So a card like Dusknoir taking a knockout wouldn't trigger Pheasantipity. So make it so you're not essentially guaranteed to trigger Pheasantipity. Your opponent has the ability to play around Pheasantipity's ability if they want to.
Yeah, I feel like that could be interesting. I feel like most of those situations aren't super common. I mean, they happen, but I feel like a lot of the times they also happen paired with like another knockout. So I don't know how much it would change the card. It does again give it interesting counterplay. I think my issue with the card is that it's very linear as well. Like you get it, you just use it. It's like always good to get essentially. It's because it's not a liability really. It's not like it's not taking up a lot of bench space in terms of that aspect. It's something that's going to allow you to draw a bunch of cards, and it lets you draw the cards if it's in play. Like there's no like downside to getting it really, except for the fact that it could get knocked out and won't be there later. But that's not because the card's bad. That's because the card's good. And so I feel like adding more like things to think about is cool. In your suggestion, I feel like that is more so things for your opponent to think about, though, which again adds like depth and makes it a little more fun to play against, which I do like, and obviously helps balance it out. I feel like I don't know, I almost like it if it maybe like you had to be in the active if that was a condition for it. The Pheasantipity EX had to be
Yeah.
in the active. I don't know if that would be super interesting. Would probably just lead to it being like paired with Latias, which is paired with anyways, but it's like a little more combo-y. You need like two pieces or something, but um, I think it's. I mean, those ideas are kind of interesting, but I don't know how much it would change the balance.
Yeah, and if you use Latias, you have the tools also to give it because it only
Yeah.
retreat cost of one. So you could go that route as well. I like what you said in terms of the problem with the card. It's linear, and to me, there's not a lot of decision making with Pheasantipity. Yet the decision is at what point in your turn do you use the ability, but it's not generally overly complex or complicated. So it's not adding a lot of depth to the game, I don't think, which kind of fits in your linear comment, I think, along that same vein.
Yeah. Oh, and then another card that's kind of similar, in my opinion, is Mew EX, right? Mew EX is a card that has a draw ability. Oh, I forgot that it's impossible to find when I search it. But anyways, Mew EX is a card that, it draws you cards. But it has different options as well. It has free retreat, which is cool. It has an interesting attack. Pheasantip EX does kind of have an interesting attack, but not really that interesting. I feel like because like if we nerf the card, you could potentially even
Right.
buff the attack to make it a little more interesting. Um, and just a more deep card with like some different things. Because I think the attack's kind of cool, but like a little underutilized. It's just generally kind of weak.
Yeah, it's not a bad attack, especially when you
No.
compare it to the Oricorio GX, right? It's just got better in a bunch of ways, and the attack is definitely a little more potentially useful, although it gets ignored. So, um, yeah, I mean, the problem is it's a default card, so I guess we don't have a good solution to it. I don't, obviously, the game hasn't had a card like this most of the time, right? I don't know going back far, but there was a pretty big gap between Oricorio GX and Pheasantipity EX, and I think things went fine. Um, in some sense, having two prize engine cards maybe makes the game a little dull because they have to be good but really strong by the nature, right? You kind of have single prize engine pieces. They don't quite do as much, but sometimes it makes the game more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think Enzoric EX is also like a solid two prize engine in terms of like balance, but also it's kind of weak, I'd say, especially in terms of just an engine. It's pretty weak in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it has that potential to be an engine, but yeah, for two prizes, I don't think it's going to be good enough to be played a lot. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I don't think we have anything else to say of Fenzidippi at this point, do we?
No, I'll say I don't like hate it. I don't think it leads to horrible situations. Like, it kind of counters stuff like Iono, but it kind of keeps you in the
Yeah.
game. It's not like it's shutting things down, except for the counter. There's like a counter to a counter, but getting set up is good. So I'm not going to complain too much about the card. It's just a little strong.
Yeah, it takes what's the A spec that you each shuffle your cards in and draw
Oh
what
yeah, unfair
five or
stamp.
three unfair stamp. It kind of like makes that kind of pointless, right? When your opponent's just going to draw another three cards on their turn. So
Yeah.
um, you know, so yeah, I don't love it. I guess the counter argument it kind of makes you keeps you in the keeps your turn developing. You don't get shut down by Iono, but that's kind of one of the potential pluses of Iono, which
Yeah.
really is fallen off. So why don't we talk about a attacking Pokemon next, which is Dragapult EX, which I think it's super strong. Obviously, um, I think we're going to disagree on the problem with it. So obviously, it doesn't have weakness per se, which is part of it, but just I think the attack, um, uh, 200 damage, which is good. It's not tremendous, so they did a good job there. But then the 6 damage counters makes it really, really powerful. And I think the fact that they printed the Lily's Clefairy EX to counter this, right, to help out, to make it weak to Psychic, to give it a weakness, is an indication that even Pokemon thinks Dragapult might be a little too strong for the game.
Yeah. So what do you think? You said you think we'll disagree on the problem here. What do you think it is?
Well, before we did this, you also gave a list of like cards that you thought were balanced, right? Which we
Uh,
talked about
yes.
that too. And just to get a sense of what you think is balanced versus not balanced, and one of the cards you said was Drakeloak, right? With its ability, which I don't remember what it is called right
Yeah,
now, but
recon directive.
Recon, look at the top two, put one in your hand, the other goes in the bottom. Terrific ability. I think the fact that Dragapult is a very good attacker and it's got the stage one that's a good engine piece is problematic. Honestly, I think if they didn't have that Drake-Loke in the game, just a more vanilla kind of Drake-Loke only just to get evolved to Dragapult would make Dragapult more fair.
I do agree with. I mean, obviously, we both think it's too strong. We talked about these cards before, and we kind of agreed on that. Um, and I think Drakeloak is cool as a card. Like ignoring Dragapult, it's like kind of it's not that good. It's okay.
Yeah,
With Dragapult, it's very very good. But that like it makes Dragapult EX a lot better. But I'd say Dragapult is ignoring Drakeloak still very good. I mean, we saw it within Regidraco V-Star, which I wasn't playing Drakeloak, be
yeah,
a very, very important and a powerful attacking option. So I feel like the issue is, I mean, yes, you could nerf Dragapult EX by nerfing Drakeloak, but I think Drakeloak's interesting. It leads to like interesting gameplay. It's like a fair engine. You have cool decisions to make, but you also have in terms of an engine, it feels like fair. It's strong because it's grouped in with the deck, kind of like Curlia with the Gardevoir EX deck before rotation. Um, but I feel like the main Pokemon, like I feel like Dragapult. The issue with Dragapult, in my opinion, is obviously that it is too strong, but because it's targeting bench Pokemon in a way that there isn't necessarily always good counterplay to. There sometimes is good
yeah,
counterplay to, and that can be interesting. But you need to kind of run specific things, and it kind of has warped the game a little. You should be like very careful of your like keeping track of like protecting your bench Pokemon and counterplaying to Dragapult. And Dragapult's been like very good since Sparkling Crystal, I think. I don't think it was immediately good
yeah.
when it came out. Sparkling Crystal is now not in the deck, but yeah. Anyway, like I don't know. I feel like it's just really it's really it's good at everything. It's not like the most consistent. Drakelook does help out the consistency, but I feel like uh, taking a deck that's or taking a card that's really powerful in terms of like damage and nerfing its consistency, it does balance it, but it doesn't make it more fun. It's like, oh well, maybe they won't set up and I'll win because they can't like do much, or maybe they will set up and then I'll lose because they set up. Um, which is technically balanced, but I don't think it's very interesting. There's not a lot of back and forth within the games.
Yeah, I mean, taking away the Dracoloak's ability would just make Dragapult more high roll, right? Because once you're set up and are going, you don't really need the Dracoloaks as long as you just got to hit the cards you need. So, what I was thinking is, and part of why it's the big deal with these 6 damage counters is that obviously the EXs, the multi-prize car Pokemon, evolve from single prize Pokemon. So you have these very low HP single prize Pokemon that are in a lot of decks, which I think is probably good for the game. But then it makes spread, it makes spread more different, right? Before, when we're back with the V stars and the V maxes that all evolved from Vs, they all had high HP, the basics too. So this wouldn't have been as meaningful, I don't think. I think how to counter it is the issue, because another way to look at it is, well, there's two things. First, right now, part of why it's really nice is you can put 6 damage counters however you want. You could say place it on one Pokemon, so that would be meaningful. The other thing, which I was thinking more is the main way, is don't place damage counters, but do damage, which then we can play Shaman and it shuts it down, right?
Yeah, I feel like that'd be good. Shaman's a card that is kind of cool, right? It protects your bench
Yeah.
Pokemon, except it doesn't, because the main thing hitting your bench is Dragon Ball, and it doesn't protect against that, which feels like kind of weird. That like Dragapult's been very good. It feels like it's a card like needing a counter. There's like Jirachi, which doesn't counter Dragapult. So they run a bunch of cards where it's like, there's not really any counterplay. There are ways to stop effective attacks, but they're not really in the game. I was gonna say maybe you could print a card to counter, but yeah, if you just change it to damage, then it would be it would protect your Pokemon. Or you could counter Dragapult EX with the Shaman, which I think would be cool. I think Shaman is kind of meh. I don't really dislike um or like in within the metagame, Shaman's kind of meh. I feel like I don't know. I don't mind like these hard counter cards, and it's not like Dragapult isn't doing that much damage without it. It's like not. It's certainly a lot worse, but um, it's decent. And also on top of that, Shaman only protects your non-rule box Pokemon, so it would you could, if you're playing Dragapult, still hit your opponents like Resident, which presumably they'll have, or probably something like that. So yeah, I like that change a bunch.
Okay. Yeah, because Dragapult, it's two-shotting things. It does 200, so it's not one-shotting the the rule box Pokemon. It's 2 energy. It doesn't have weakness, so I think they got that right. I think it's these 6 damage counters placements the issue. So yeah, so I think so. I guess we'll propose that for the change, right? You do damage instead of place damage and see, so you can counter it if you want to with Shaman in your deck. So
Yeah, are you
why don't
still
we?
saying that you spread the damage around however you want, the 6 damage or 60 damage?
How common is it that you do damage and you can choose
I don't
which
think
ones it
that's
goes
that's really
to?
ever done, which is what I was thinking. I mean, there have been some like
Yeah.
weird attacks where you like choose Pokemon a bunch of times. They're like a little clunkier. You could do it. Um, Again, as you were saying, it's like not very common. But I do think it would be better. I think like the interesting element of Dragapult is choosing where the damage counters go, like spreading damage, but in an interesting way. Because I feel like spread's fun. Versatility within spread's fun. So Dragapult's good, but it is cool to be able to spread it around. If you lose that element, I think you're losing something important to the card.
Yeah. So then I guess either they come up with a new way to phrase things, which they could obviously do, or they print up, they print a new shaman that stops damage counters as well, which obviously they can print. They could make that a basic as well, rather than Rabska, the stage one that makes it just too slow to get set up,
Yeah.
from my experience.
Mhm.
All right, so why don't we talk about another rule box EX stage two, Gardevoir EX, and partly why I'm thinking of this is it's been good, right, for a long time. It's just psychic embrace ability is just tremendous. Unlimited psychic energy acceleration. Put 2 damage counters on for each energy accelerate that way. But unlimited energy acceleration is pretty insane. Partly why I was thinking of this after Dragapult is I said let's get rid of Dragapult's Dracloak, and of course Gardevoir had Curlia, and of course once Curlia rotated, Gardevoir became unplayable, right? So obviously Dracloak
Exactly. Yeah.
would fix Dragapult. It proves my point, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. But
but no, but right, obviously Dragapult's still really good without
Gardevoir.
Curlia. So what's that?
Gardevoir.
Gardevoir, yeah, sorry, Gardevoir's still really good without Curlia. So if not better, than it used to be. So I think, look, it's just been this ability is just crazy. It's the attack it has is pretty good, but it very rarely gets used for the attack. So I think just it's essentially a support stage two, which generally would be unplayable, but it's just too good of a a support Pokemon, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I think, I mean, regarding, well, I guess. So regarding the attack, I mean, the attack's used. I think it's been used more as times went on. It's like it's decent, definitely, and like an
Yeah,
okay option to fall back on. Um, I feel like a big reason you don't want to attack with it is because you don't really want it as a Pokemon that's getting knocked out because you really want it in play.
yeah,
But yeah, the ability is like absurdly good in terms of you can just accelerate essentially as much energy as you want. Um, Pokemon's designed a lot of cards that can't take amazing use of it. They can just make like decent use of it. Like you look at the new Mega Gardevoir, yes, it can make decent use of it, but it's a stage 2-3 prizer, and it's like yes, it can one shot anything with Gardevoir EX, but it is like pretty difficult to set up. You look at other cards, and most of them are pretty meh, except for the ones that pair with its damage kind of. So Pokemon's kind of shaped it in that way. To like nerf it with their card design around it, but it's like it's super good. It allows you to like retreat whenever and stuff. Um, so that being said, in terms of stage 2 EX abilities, there are not that many good ones, right? I don't think there's Pidgeot. I guess Charizard's is like good, but that's not why it's good. That's
yeah,
part of why it's good. Um, but like I don't know, I feel like we don't really see that many stage 2 support Pokemon, especially in standard. Or Roblox support Pokemon, right? There's like a few of them.
right.
So I don't hate it being good. I think it is too good though. I'd probably I don't know. It's so weird because almost like the downside is the damage counters, but now that's the
Right.
upside. So like, how do you nerf it? And is the nerf going to be a buff? But
Right, because I was thinking, okay, obviously the first thing is, okay, let's make it not two damage counters, put it three, put four damage counters, which when the early days of Garden for that was you were like when you're playing with the Zacian V and whatever, you wanted the energies, but you didn't want the damage on it. So that would have been a nerf, but now it is all about the damage counter. So one of the issues is these cards, particularly Screamtail now, that's the biggest one played, that the attacker that just is for single prize attacker just does too much damage with Gardevoir's ability, right? Maybe something like that, get rid of Screamtail and maybe something else just to make the game more balanced.
yeah, but I don't know. I feel like it's like the versatility of all the different Pokemon. Monkey Dory is very good in the deck. I still stand by it's a little
Yeah.
overrated, but it's very good. And then like really every option in the deck is good. I feel like Gardevoir is like the Pokemon that um is the issue because Gardevoir's been like if you look at any Pokemon within the deck, it's been good with or without that Pokemon. So and it can elevate like mediocre attackers around it, like say Jellicent EX. Without Gardevoir EX,
Yeah.
is pretty bad. I feel like I mean it's not horrendous, but it's not good. Um, and I don't know. I'm not sure I'd change it. I almost wanted to say once per turn, but once per turn just would like kill it. And
Yeah.
that like really takes away. I was gonna say like 2 or 3 times per turn, but that's like super weird. You never see that. Um,
Right.
yeah, but I don't know. I wouldn't hate that like as a balancing decision. You could also make it like weaker as more of a liability, but I feel like that would make it more swingy because then your opponent could target it. But like that's still kind of what they're trying to do is like target down your Gardevoir. So um I don't know. I'm not really sure what the solution is.
Yeah, I mean, besides getting rid of like Screamtail, if you got rid of Monkey Dory, that would hurt Gardevoir. But like you said, I think limiting the ability is really the way to address it, right? It's this fact this unlimited energy acceleration. But like you said, yeah. But if you make it just one energy per turn, then the Gardevoir's just not good, right? Unless you get multiple going into play, and
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
not going to
sorry.
be.
I thought of how you could change it. So you could
Yeah.
say once during your turn you can accelerate as many energy as you like. Um, so you can't to one of your Pokemon. So you can't accelerate to multiple different Pokemon.
Hmm.
And you can't like use it and then like I don't know. I guess you're not really gonna use it and then like research or something, and then use it after. But it does limit you from like retreating all the time, um, and which I feel like is a meaningful part of the deck. So making you have to plan out things a little more. Um, that's not really something we see that often or much, but I feel like it isn't a crazy wording or anything.
Yeah, and it makes the Monkey Dora usage less useful too, right? Because you want the damage counters in your attacker now, you put the other damage on something else to move it off with Monkey Dora at times, so it removes that. So that's not a bad way. You only let it accelerate to one Pokemon. That's not terrible. I don't mind that. I mean, the other thing to do, but it changes it probably too much, is don't accelerate for the discard pile, right? Because that obviously is part of what makes it really good. Now, if you want, I wouldn't say make it from the deck
Yeah,
because
that'd
that's
be
probably
worse.
better.
Yeah.
Make it from if you made it from hand though, right? We obviously have things from hand. But then you need the items to recover the energy to your hand, so it makes it a little bit. You have to manage the game a little more, right? With Gardevoir, you load it up, you attack, all the energies automatically go in the discard pile, unless you printed a Pokemon that says that made the energy not go in the discard pile, right? When it goes to hand or it goes to the lost zone. Although to the lost zone that would be too powerful.
Yeah,
I
I'd
think
say
if you
maybe
had
deck or hand. Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. I do like that idea. Of like changing where it comes from or where it goes after. I feel like that'd be kind of fun. And you could like slap the ability on Gardevoir itself. Say like it accelerates from the discard, but then whenever like a Pokemon with Psychic Energy is attached to it is knocked out, then that energy goes into the deck, which could have upside as well, but obviously it's going to make it a lot more awkward for the ability, which I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean that's a weird change.
It
Probably,
is, yeah.
I think the one that has the most promise that keeps the game the most is keeping it to only to one Pokemon per turn. I think
Yeah.
that now how much that does it really nerf it, or is that still like potentially the best deck in game? I'm not completely positive. As long, you just have to play it a little bit better, have a couple extra switching cards in hand, right? And you probably can keep going without worrying about it too much.
Yeah. But do you have a card you want to talk about next, or should I go with
Yeah,
one?
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll go with I guess I'll go with Buddy Buddy Poffin. Buddy Buddy Poffin is a very strong card. Um, it's very different, I think, than all the other cards we're going to talk about today. The only
Yeah,
other trainer, we got a few other trainers. Not sure if we'll talk about all of them. But this is a search setup trainer. It's an item that lets you search for two basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less and put them onto your bench. This is very good. You look at Nestball. Nestball's very good. It was an example we used earlier of
yep,
a fair but very good card, or like okay for the game but very good card, which gets one Pokemon, one basic from your deck onto your bench. This is two. Yes, it is limited to 70 HP or less Pokemon, but if you look at like say this deck here, Dusknoir, Dragapult, almost all the basics are within that range. So it encourages, so it's like just very good. And then you then obviously want to play Pokemon with 70 HP or less. It's also kind of weird with the dynamics with Dragapult EX, where you want Pokemon because Dragapult EX is doing 60 damage spread,
yeah,
um, which is it's then you can have 70, you'll survive. If you have 60, you won't survive. Then if you have more than 70, you want Search Ball for Buddy Buddy Poffin. So you want all the Pokemon to have 60 HP, or sorry, no, you want them all to have 70 HP. And a Pokemon like if you have a previous evolution that doesn't have 70 HP, if it has more, then that's really rough. If it has less, that could be rough. It's not as bad because it is searchable, but if you look at, I don't know, there's just a lot of just random previous evolutions that don't have this, and then they're always trying to like get to this number, which I feel like is very game defining, very much encouraging these like setup based decks where you want to get a basic and then or like a bunch of basics and then like get them evolved not necessarily super quickly but into like stage ones and stage twos like say Dragapult with Dusknoir or I'd say Goldengo kind of has that. I don't know, it's like I don't have an issue with evolution decks. Evolution decks are very important, but they're all kind of not necessarily linear, but they are always trying to look for like a turn one or turn two Buddy Buddy Poffin. Probably turn one, right?
yeah.
And that's like, that's always the goal. And it's kind of, I don't know, it leads decks to having a lot of similarities. It can be interesting, being that like almost all the basics have 70 HP, so something like Fan Rotom or something else hitting 70 can be good, and it creates some fun dynamics. But I'd say a lot of them are kind of limiting as well.
Yeah. Now, the good thing about Buddy Buddy Poffin, besides it is a good card, I don't think there's any disagreement about that. But it's a card that helps you set up. It helps consistency, and consistency is good in the game, right?
Yeah.
So, just removing Buddy Buddy Poffin, yes, you could go back to Nest Ball and Ultra Ball, but I think the idea of getting some low HP Pokemon, I like that as a card concept. Um, what I think is a problem with it is we're in the EX era, which is multi-prize Pokemon evolving for a single prize Pokemon, and the fact that now you're setting up your EX Pokemon with the Buddy Buddy Pop, and I think that's the problem. In a sense, it'd be a weird thing to try to word, but if you made it so that you could only get you couldn't put basic Pokemon with it that evolve into EXs.
Yeah, I don't think
Right.
that's really doable. I'm trying to think. Maybe if
It,
you, I think the closest thing I could think of is you need to like reveal from your hand that you like don't have an EX or something like that, which isn't like the same thing, or like
right.
feel your whole deck and show you don't have any EXs, which again is like different because like what you're saying, like you should still be able to get Duskull in a Dragapult deck. Um, I'd say to me because I don't. This is like a little different, but I feel like there's a card like this. Is it Professor Oak? Um, sorry, let me search. Yeah, so Professor Oak's setup says you search your, as a supporter, you search your deck for three basic Pokemon of different types, put them onto your bench. So I feel like if it had to be different types, that'd be kind of interesting. Or not necessarily different types, maybe different types, but also just two different Pokemon, um, leading to a little more diversity within it, creating some slightly more interesting situations. And I think in a lot of those situations, I can't really think of any deck. No, sorry, I guess like Charizard Pidgeot runs two evolutions where the basics of Buddy Buddy Puff and Searchable that are like two different EXs, but most decks you look at Grimmsnarl Frostlass, you can get an Impidimp and then you can get a Snorunt, or like Dragapult you'll be getting like a Dreepy and then like a Badoo or a Duskull, but you're not getting two Dreepies. Same thing with the Goldengo. I think it kind of helps that out. Where Goldengo you're just getting two Gimmigholes. Now you got to get a Gimmighoul and like a Scyther or just like nothing and it like loses a lot of its value, which I think is kind of fair. I feel like I feel like Buddy Buddy Poffin is kind of cool, but I feel like it needs more like deck diversity, which is kind of what you're going for as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I also thinking if we can encourage single prize Pokemon more,
Yeah.
right, is always a good thing too. Making it to be two differently named Pokemon, obviously that's very doable. Um, so that would help. It makes it less useful for certain decks, but other decks still don't get hurt by it. And maybe that's a good thing. I like Buddy Buddy Puff in a lot of ways. I mean, I do like it. It's a good card,
Yeah.
and it does allow deck diversity, but it also makes it just makes the better decks, the best decks, even better. So it kind of, I think the spread between the top decks and like just good decks gets wider because of a card like Buddy Buddy Poffin, which isn't good for the game.
Yeah, especially when like we're kind of talking about engines. I said Drake Loke isn't an issue. Like I don't have an issue with the card. I do like its design, but ultimately, Dragapult's really good. Goldengo EX is really good. They both have
Yeah.
these basics that are both part of their main attacking line that evolve into stage ones that are their draw engine that and the basic evolves into their like main attacker. So you have this I don't know, you have a pretty linear strategy as well there. It's not super linear, especially with Dragapult, but I don't know. It's definitely. I do like your suggestion of like it can evolve into an EX, but I don't think that's really doable wording wise. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, then you have to know every basic that can or cannot evolve into an EX, which everyone's not going to know all the time,
Yeah. Well,
right?
I think I'd say more so because like you could also have like well Dreepy doesn't evolve into an EX directly, right? And then also, what if you want to play like a single prize? I should say single prize Dragapult. I don't think there's a single prize Dragapult in standard, but like single prize Goldengo. Well, you can't do that now. So I'd say like you could
Yeah.
put like something on the card that says like, oh, this card can't evolve into an EX. But that's not really something that Pokemon does. It's kind of like a special condition or like some effect of the card, but it's just kind of weird.
Right, then you need a special marker to try to remember that that's the case, which I don't think we need that in the game either. So, um, yeah. So I don't know. In one sense, I don't think the game's better if we just threw out Buddy Buddy Poffin though. So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
make it two different Pokemon's probably the best thing that seems doable that gets that moves things in a positive direction to me.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You have something else you want to talk next?
Sure. I'll talk about Dusknoir. Well, we're like kind of talking
Yeah.
about it. Dusknoir is a very good card. It lets you knock yourself out with its ability, and then you put 13 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's a stage two as well. The Dusclops does something similar, but it's weaker. I will say I do like the Dusclops and the Dusknoir doing similar things, but the Dusknoir is more powerful. Um, because it like encourages you playing the like full line and like getting value out of it, which is kind of
Yeah.
fun. But ultimately, the issue with it, there is some like issues where it kind of like has synergy with cards playing from behind or giving it prizes. I wouldn't say that's an issue with the card, though it does make it stronger, but does lead to interesting situations, and you can kind of play around that. I guess. But then Dusknoir, and you're getting rewarded, right? Like even if you're using
Yeah.
Dusknoir to say activate counter catcher or like reduce your opponent's hand size for Iono, you're still giving up a prize card to do that. But anyways, it does a lot of damage, a lot of spread, and that spread damage isn't really counterable as far as I'm aware. I don't know. There might be some counters, but I can't think of any off the top of my head that are like actually good. So it's pretty like it just extra damage. And it can kind of board wipe your opponent. Not like completely. I mean, it could completely board wipe them, but it could also remove all their attackers and kind of just leave your opponent in a position where they can't recover, which isn't so fun, right? I feel like Dusknoir has like it's kind of cool conceptually, but in terms of actual practice, it can lead to you just like completely destroying your opponent, and there's not that much they can do about it.
Yeah, of course they could make Dusknoir a lot more powerful if they removed the thing that the criteria that only goes on one Pokemon. If you could spread it
Yeah.
around, then it would be just absurd.
Yeah.
And I think, look, they did have print a hard counter to Dusknoir, right, with
Oh
the
yes.
Psyduck
Side up.
promo, which is coming out, which it doesn't stop the doing the damage, but it stops the ability. So the fact that they printed Psyduck really just for Dusknoir is a strong sign that Dusknoir is a little too strong in the game.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously you could do things like change the numbers, right? Of damage counters, you could do that could sort things out. To me, though, what I was thinking is I think getting rid of the Dusclops or the ability on Dusclops would actually be a big improvement to Dusknoir because looking at most decks now, most decks are playing more Dusclops than Dusknoirs right now. A lot of times it's two Dusclops, one Dusknoir. So, and at the 5 damage counters for Dusclops, that that's a lot more. That I think that's a fair number for the stage one. I think, but I think having the stage one and the stage two together, I think makes it a little too strong.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of see that. I mean, the Dusclops is there partially because you can use multiple Dusknoirs on the same turn. Um, but you need like the Dusclopses, assuming you're not rare candying. You need like
Yeah.
if you have two Dusclops on in your to start your turn, you draw Dusknoir, you can play the Dusknoir, use it. Night Stretcher, play Dusknoir, use it, and so then it doesn't matter too much what the Dusclops does. Dusclops is always like kind of threatening your opponent though. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. I don't know. I do like the fact I like good previous evolutions though, so I can't really like say like just make the previous evolution bad. Um, maybe move Dusclops' ability to like its attack or something like that. To give it some value, but like not completely remove it. But not make it too strong either. I don't know. I feel like I could almost say because to me the issue with Dusknoir is it like removing like knocking out basics. I mean, it does allow you to get like one shots like paired with say Dragon Ball. You can one shot like Charizard,
Right.
but I don't know. I would say that's not as big of an issue. So you could just say like, oh, Dusknoir can't directly take a knockout, but um, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it has to be able to finish off something that's damaged, though, right?
Yeah, I could you
I,
can make it like reverse Pikachu EX, right? Where like if you would knock out a Pokemon that has full HP, you don't, and its HP goes to 10 or something. I mean, then you can still finish it off with
yeah.
Dragapult, but also you're probably losing a lot of damage from it. And you still have to use the Dragapult damage. Or you could just say it like doesn't do any damage to a Pokemon with full HP that you would one shot or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because I don't want to just obviously you could reduce the damage counters, right? You make it like 10 or something, and then
Yeah, but
then
that's
it,
still
it
doing like a lot of the same stuff though.
yeah, I think that's too boring, and we might find that you could probably find a level that's balanced by doing that. You could make it an EX, make it give up 2 prizes, but
Um, yeah, that seems rough.
that is probably unplayable
That
at that
reminds me.
point.
That reminds me of another EX that knocks itself out, which is bad.
The best card in format that everybody's sleeping on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, Fortress EX there, but yeah, it's too severe, right? Maybe you could only do. I mean, I don't think they've done this, but if you can only use the one Curse Blast over the course of the game, something
Yeah,
like
oh,
that.
that's kind of interesting. I'd say like one minor complaint is that you kind of need to keep track of it, but it's not that hard to keep track of. And I would say we haven't seen anything like that, but we've actually seen that with Legacy Energy. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, so I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Um, yeah, that's kind of cool. In that case, I might actually say you could use one Dusclops and one Dusknoir. You could like just change the ability names, which
yeah.
would be maybe interesting. I don't know. That'd be maybe a little too much to keep track of, but um, yeah, I kind of like that. That might like nerf it too much. But I do not hate that. I think that's kind of cool. It keeps with, in some sense, you can still do that like early game board wipe stuff, which it doesn't really fix that, but it could, you know. Sometimes you want to pop off multiple dust stores or whatever to knock out multiple Pokemon, and that stops that.
Right.
Maybe
And
just
if
one per
when
turn.
you yeah, yeah. Well, also when you swing for the early game board wipe, then if you don't get it, you now can't use the ability later in the game, and now you put yourself in a tough spot. So I think maybe that has some value there
Yeah.
as a way to go. Um, all right, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk? All right, let's talk about Goldango EX
Okay.
because
Okay.
we've mentioned it some. But I'm not. We said it's too strong. I don't remember if it was me or you, honestly, at this point. But I was also thinking maybe it is balanced. It is very good. It's very good because the attack scales really well. The ability is very good. Two of the active, one on the bench. They've also have good items that support it. Superior Energy Retrieval, Energy Search Pro. Um, it's very good. It's also not dominant, right? Because other decks,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd say now it's dominant, like very, very good, but not like broken, broken. But I wouldn't say any of these are broken, broken. But throughout its time that in standard, it's been, I mean, it's really gotten good with Genesect DX and Air Balloon, right?
yeah, they brought a lot. Yes, yeah, they brought a lot of value to it, as well as Energy Search Pro. Which honestly, if you want to nerf Goldingo, get rid of Energy Search Pro. Now you have because right now early game you play your Arvin and you wipe out one. You have one turn where you essentially have a free knockout of unlimited damage, right? Free unlimited damage turn, and maybe that makes the deck too good. Um, the question is if you start to like nerf things like Dragapult and Gardevoir, then all of a sudden Goldingo becomes too good, right now you have the couple other decks that are better than it probably by a little bit, so it keeps it in balance, but I
I
don't
don't know.
know if
I feel
that's
like Gholdengo is really, really good.
okay. No, it's good. It's also fun to play, I gotta say. I think I think a lot of people enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a
you know
linear
mul-
deck, but you like do lots of damage, control lots of cards.
Yes, yeah. The fact that you draw ability it makes it's fun to play because you get going. You're in the game, right? I feel like with Goldango most of the
I
time that's my
I
experience.
guess, yeah. I mean, because it's good. I wouldn't say like you're in the game as in you have comeback potential. I feel like there's not really any comeback potential with the deck
Well,
unless your opponent
yeah,
like misses or something weird like that.
that's
Like it's
true.
a
You
pretty
gotta
linear deck or very
yeah,
linear deck.
it's a linear deck and you gotta get ahead, right? You gotta set up smoothly or else you're gonna lose. So assuming we need to nerf it, I don't think the HP is not that high, so we're not gonna reduce the HP. Um, obviously, if you reduce the damage to 40 or something like that, it would really change it because all of a sudden you can't get the knockouts you need. But I don't think we want to do that. Um, so, like I said, you could get rid of some of the items. Part of the problem, like I said, is the Energy Search Pro and Superior Energy Retrieval format. If you got rid of Superior Energy Retrieval, all of a sudden Goldengo's a lot tougher because now you just need a lot of just regular energy retrievals and you need a lot more items. You're going to struggle as the game goes on to get the pieces you need. So, what do you think about something like that?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'd say like maybe we get rid of Energy Search Pro because Superior Energy Retrieval is
Yeah.
like there's some things to think about it. It's not like the most complicated card, but Energy Search Pro, there's not really anything to think about. You'll take all the energies, you'll use it early.
Yes.
I mean, there's like a little bit to think about, but not that much. And it's like only good in Goldengo because Superior Energy Retrieval is useful in other things, and it's not an exciting card for an ace spec. Like it's not. I mean, it's kind of a game changing card, but it's not like I don't know. I feel like a lot of the like, other good ace specs are like fun. Like Prime Catcher can lead to something else that like a big comeback, or it's just like a really useful resource. Secret box, you get a bunch of cards, but the cards you get are varied, and there's some cool decisions, and it's like it's exciting. I feel like in a way that Energy Search Pro like isn't. It's just like get a knockout. And then I don't know, like other aspects are cool. In general, I guess I don't know. I feel like Energy Search Pro is just like a really niche ace spec. It's like good
Yeah.
in one deck, horrendous in like everything else, and I don't like that. I'll also say the same thing about Neo Upper Energy, but I feel like Neo Upper Energy is a little more unique. I don't know if more unique, but like
Okay.
creative.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Energy Search Pro kind of seems built for Goldango and not much else, which therefore for an A spec, I don't love that. I mean, these aren't card specific A specs as such because it doesn't have the name, but so they should be a little more general. The other question I have is, could we nerf the ability, right? Somehow, because once you're set up, you have like three Goldengos to play. You're drawing guaranteed 4 or 5 cards, draw every turn, which means you're hitting the pieces you need, right? And that's part of the strength of Goldango. So if you could draw less, like 2 cards less, say with Goldengo, which maybe only like if you could only draw one even in the active spot, maybe that's the way you do it. I'm not sure. Could we bring down the ability to kind of
Yeah,
balance
or
things out?
maybe only draw on the active, like you draw two but only in the
Yeah,
active or something like that. I don't know. I feel like those changes could be cool. I feel like the ability is the part that feels fair, though. I mean, it's not a draw, like
yeah,
it is kind of a draw engine within Goldengo. In standard right now, it is a draw engine. For a while, it wasn't without the Genesect and the Air Balloon, which are like the most recent cards to help the deck. Um, it just it wasn't enough. You needed like to Dunsparce or something. But I don't know. I like the ability. I kind of talk
okay,
about well-rounded cards. And I feel like the ability really adds to that. And also, like Goldengo is kind of cool in the fact that it can be like versatile as well. But I don't know. Yeah, I could see nerfing attack as well as like you mentioned to 40 times, but I don't know. I think I kind of like the design. It's a pretty straightforward card, but
yeah, quite, yeah. Is it slightly? It's probably if it's too strong, it's probably slightly too strong. You could put like a cap. Right now, it's any number of basic energies, but put a
yeah,
limit. Make it 6 energies, which means you can't get those stage 2 EXs, right? So all of a sudden, now you have a bit of an issue, right? So
yeah. I don't know.
probably
I'm
you want
generally
to,
not a huge fan of like those like half damage attackers. I don't know. I just don't
yeah.
really like them as much. I mean, you like Ice Rider. I feel like you kind of like more fixed damage attackers. Um, and it's like Goldengo just does. It's not like Goldengo instantly one shots like anything all the time. Like you still need to get
Right.
resources to get like big knockouts late in the game, and knocking out 3 stage 2 EX is gonna be pretty rough. Um,
Y- Yeah, it is. You have the one with Energy Search Pro. You can certainly get a second one, but then the third one, you need to be able to cover a lot of energy. Now the stadium, the Lightning Stadium, probably
Levencia, yeah.
we what's it called again?
Levencia.
Livencia. You don't probably that's probably not good either. Getting 2 free energies in your hand every turn,
I don't
it
know, but
would
you
be
also need to like. I mean, even with Energy Search Pro, but also with Levencia, and like putting them together, you need like some weird energy counts. So you are like having issues, like you'll have more issues finding the energies you need at the times you need them. So people like I see people playing like Monkey Dories, which like again, still not a fan of that in Goldengo. I've been playing a lot of Goldengo, have not wanted that, but and then like Levencia and then Energy Search Pro, and I have this like crazy energy like setup, and you can just like miss your metals or like not get your other things, and it's like there is like a cost to playing these things.
all right.
Yeah.
So do you think Goldengo should be nerfed? Do you think it's okay
I
with
think
where it is in the
I
game?
think it should be nerfed. I think Entry Search Pro. I'd remove honestly remove it. It's just
Okay.
not super interesting.
Yeah, that makes the one turn popping off too good, and the other stuff is the interesting stuff that you're working through over the course of the game. You still can get the big knockouts with Earth and Vessel and stuff, so I wouldn't mind that. All right, do we want to? I definitely want to talk about boss before we're done, but do you want
Yeah.
to talk about something else too?
Let's talk boss now.
Okay, so I think I said boss. Maybe you did. I don't know when we put this together. So boss is one of the most powerful cards in the game. I think I stand by that. Obviously, Pokemon versus trainers is a tricky thing, but what it does is crazy good. Um, The question is, though, in certain senses, is it good for the game? Because honestly, as I think about it more, there's some ways it's very important for the game too. So, but the fact is, every deck essentially plays boss. Every deck plays multiple boss, basically, right? You build a deck, you stick two boss in, you might change it up as you go on, but pretty much it's a given for a deck. Every deck likes it, every deck loves it, so it's just such an important card to hit on the right turns. So it is a crazy good card.
Yeah, and the way I because boss, you switch when your opponent's active with bench with the active, so it's gusting. When I like kind of if I'm introducing the Pokemon TCG to someone, I'll say like, oh, there's trainers, and so items, they search Pokemon, right? I feel like that's by far their main thing, right?
Yeah,
And then supporters draw you cards. That's their main thing, or boss. Like those are the three types of trainers. There's boss, draw supporters, and search items. Like boss is just it's not the only thing that does what it does, but Prime Catcher is not like it's just a one of, right? And then
yeah,
Counter Catcher is kind of cool, but it's not always usable. So boss is like the thing that
right.
does what it does. I guess the Lisa's appeal also does, but it's just like a worse boss. So um yeah, boss is it's just like so it's I don't know, gusting is a very important part of the game. Um
Yeah,
allowing you it lets you do different things. It obviously lets you bring things up to win on that turn, but also lets you like kind of buy time, which is I think interesting.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. I mean, it is very good though, and it's like a win condition. It feels like a lot. Sometimes it kind of depends on the deck, but it's
yeah.
like very important.
I mean, I feel like being able to boss for game is a good thing. I think, right, like you could Guzma for game before, now you boss for game. I think that's good to close out. So maybe I was wondering, like, should there be a restriction that you need to have like taken a certain number of prizes so that you're not so your opponent still can set up early game, but if you get going, you can boss for game. I don't know, right? Like you
I
need to
don't know.
have
I feel
taken.
like I feel like boss is more of an issue like late game. I mean, that's when it's like more powerful, and I'd say almost like
Yeah,
too powerful, and then like in the early game, it leads. I think the early game boss's orders are kind of interesting. Because like a lot of the times when you're playing it early, it's because you got a dead hand and you gotta like make use of what you got, and that's kind of interesting. Versus in the late game, it's just like, oh, I need boss to win. If I don't get boss, I'll lose. If I get boss, I'll win. And it feels kind of like risk, like, oh, I need it, and that's the only way which I'm gonna win this game.
yeah,
And it just feels kind of random. Which I don't know. I'd say I don't love.
yeah. I mean, well, so you might argue the reverse. You want to be able to play boss early, but then have a limit after you so many prizes you can't play it late
Yeah,
game.
maybe not you can't play it, but just I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of some kind of nerve, like because Pokemon TCG Pocket, which we haven't talked about, yeah, because the cards
Yeah,
are weaker there, including the trainers. There isn't boss. There's a few things like it, but there's Sabrina, which is it forces your opponent to switch to the bench. And then there's Cyrus, which gusts a Pokemon with damage counters on it. So like maybe not that you can't play it later
hmm.
on, but maybe this is like kind of complicated because boss is supposed to be simple, but if like for if you've your points or no, if you've taken if you have like two prizes left to take, then or less, then you can only boss or then boss isn't boss. Instead, it's either forces a switch or you gust a Pokemon with damage counters on it or something like that. I don't know. That's like kind of weird. But like it kind of like it gets weaker as the game moves on. But it can still do similar concepts, just not always not this like instant win condition. I don't know. That got kind of weird.
I kind of see what you're talking about a little bit. Different ways to think about it. Now the one problem. Well, first it would change the game a lot if obviously if we drop boss, and I don't know that it would just be a different game in some sense. So I don't know that I like that. But the one concern is I was thinking about what happens with control if there's no boss in game.
But you have like counter
Um,
catcher.
you do if you're behind the prizes, but if you're playing against someone that's looking to deck you out,
Wait, so you're saying
you
in
can't
the control, wait, against control or with
against
control?
control
Oh, against.
to counter control. That's my concern.
I
But
feel
to
like it's
counter,
not
right?
that useful for countering control. Like what kind of control? Snorlax or like
Well,
something else?
Snorlax is a problem, but also,
Yeah.
everyone plays Mimikyu, and you can't get the Mimikyu out of the active. So you can obviously work around it, but is that good?
I feel like it's
I'm
not a
not
huge
sure.
issue. I mean, well, I don't know. I feel like Snorlax was an issue, but that's a different thing. But
Yes.
so I feel like with Mimikyu or like the walls, I mean, like you need to if you don't have any way through it, you need to gust it like 6 times, maybe 3 times, a bunch of times. And I
Yeah.
feel like just boss itself isn't like I don't know. I feel like you need more than just boss there. So I don't know. I kind of see what you're saying, but I feel like that doesn't matter like too much. I feel like that's kind of rare.
Okay. I mean, there's times the control's been stronger than now, so could it be too strong? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, but I feel like control, just regular control, boss isn't that like specifically like wall-based stalling decks. I feel like it's an issue, but those aren't.
Yeah.
I'd say those being good isn't good because they're kind of boring to play with and against. So I just kind of say that that's bad.
So you just want to get rid of those cards,
I mean, I don't know.
perhaps.
I feel
But
like playing as Mimikyu, like as a tech option, Mimikyu is kind of cool. But if it's a Mimikyu deck, that's like not cool. Like Iron Thorns, that's like not so fun to play against. And Boss is useful there. But even then, they could just run 4 of it, like at the World Championships, and then Boss doesn't do anything anyways.
or like a Milotic with
Yeah.
the Ogre the Cornerstone Mask Ogre right? Things like
Yeah.
that, where you have multiple like different walling options. You want to control it. So or what if you made it so you couldn't recover boss, like with Palpat or
Um,
anything
I
like
wouldn't hate that.
so.
I guess that people might be playing more Boss, which doesn't seem like
Yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's fixing the issue. But I kind of like that. Because there are cards you can't recover, like some of the ace
right.
backs. Which by the way, like they don't need that. It's like the healing ace back and like the counter. I guess the counter ace back is like it's fine there, but I feel like the healing ace back. Wait, the healing one can't be looped, right? Pokeball A or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, which is
Which
like kind of silly because it's not that good. But
No, it's probably maybe expanded. I don't know what they're thinking about with that. Because the thing, if you can't recover boss, then rather than playing 2 boss, people are playing 3 or 4 boss in deck, I guess, more commonly. But then the decks are less consistent. So is that,
yeah,
so you're
but they'll
paying
still
the price
consistently
to get
have
the boss.
boss. They'll just be less
Probably
consistent because they'll have more boss, so they'll be more consistent at finding the card that's
boss.
quote too good, and I feel like that doesn't like I don't know. I feel like that's I kind of see what you're going for. I do kind of like it, but it all seems like it's a little backwards in terms of how it'll end up being. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know.
Right. And it's already support, if they made some more restricted category of supporter, but we're not talking about that either.
Oh, I
And it
got an
doesn't need
idea. Oh, and
that.
so no, there's another card. So there's a card Double Gust. I think Double Gust was an item. But Double Gust, it's well, could you guess what it does?
You
No,
what
you both gust.
okay,
So yeah, so that's
like rope, but it's a boss, not a retreat.
yeah, for both people. Yeah. So that's like kind of interesting. I don't know. I haven't really played with that card. It's very old. But it is
Yes.
that's like kind of interesting. And then also it could be what's some idea and I've forgotten it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But oh yeah, it's a stadium. Instead of a supporter, it's a stadium. And then your opponent can also use it. It's like once per turn you can like gust. That's kind of a stupid idea. Um but it's
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
it'd be like weird, funny.
Yeah, yeah, that it's yeah. The problem is it can't be each player can't do it every turn. So they need to have like you
I don't
put
know.
a
I feel like
stadium.
each player being doing every turn is like kind of balanced. I mean, it's kind of broken in like control or something,
Yeah.
but it's kind of it makes it like worse for you because your opponent's also gusting every turn. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, see what I'm thinking, but it's not the way Pokemon works. But with other games, you put the stadium and you put like 4 counters on it. So it could be done 4 times between the two of you. So
Yeah.
um, you could start doing something like that. But that's obviously a different game. Um, so boss is super powerful. Does the game need it? Does the game lose too much if we get rid of it? I don't know. Is there a good way to nerf it? I you know I don't know without getting kind of weird, right? That's what kind of where we're getting at, right? There's not a good nerf to the card if we wanted to.
Yeah. And then I think we got a few more cards here. We don't have that much more time. Wait, how many more
Okay,
cards do we have? We
there's
got
3.
3. What are the 3?
We'll get Charizard EX. So go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah. So Charizard, very strong. I know, I'd say Charizard in standard isn't too strong. It's been very strong throughout its time in standard, and
Yeah.
it's just like very good stats wise.
Right. I mean, based upon the results now, in a sense, you can make that argument that it's balanced, right?
Yeah.
But based on the HP, especially time 330 was huge. The accelerating 3 energy, I still think is too much. I still think it should only be two.
Yeah.
And and the way the attack scales, I think is it gets too powerful. I mean, starting at 180 was good, so they kind of understood the power, but I think it gets to be a little too good. Um, but it's probably just nerf the ability some.
Yeah. Or just
Is
any
what you
really
do.
any number.
Yeah, any number and it becomes balanced. So let's talk. So I think you said Professor Sada's vitality.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sada's. I mean, it's kind of like Welder, right? Welder was too good.
Yeah,
Sada's is probably arguably better than Welder, but it's very specific. I don't really have an issue with Sada's,
right.
but it's very good.
I mean, the fact that it only works on ancient Pokemon, that's right, is more of a restriction than Welder working on fire type, right?
It is,
So
and Welder doesn't was it just fire was fire energy, not just fire type Pokemon. But I mean, like a
yeah,
good card, I'd say it's actually that's a bad thing. Just being like really strong for one like subtype of cards, like Genesect V, I'd say was a bad design card. It was only playable in one deck, but was really strong, which I'd say made it worse. I'd say I don't know. I don't know if Genesect V would be better if it was playable in every deck, or in terms of for the game. I would be a lot stronger, but it kind of balance things, make me VMAX less oppressive. But anyways, I don't know. I don't think you think it's bad, right? Sounds like.
well, if you're gonna say like, I think the fact that Raging Bolts in particular and a Roaring Moon were really good ancient Pokemon, maybe that's part of the problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
Because
either is too good. Maybe Raging Bull, but
yeah, I mean, you could just make it so it accelerates energy to one Pokemon, one energy to
yeah,
one, and draws three, which would still be a good card in ancient decks. So I think so. Having a second energy maybe is pushing it over the top, but
yeah,
um, so I'm not sure that it needs to be nerfed like some of the other cards. And then the last one is Badoo,
yeah,
which is annoying. That was my first comment. It's just really annoying, right? So the idea of fun to play against and stuff. No, it's not fun to play against Badoo.
yeah. I'd say because I like asked people what they thought about like what were well designed cards, and then I got a lot of people saying, or like a few people saying Badoo, and they said it was Badoo because it's balanced, which
Yeah.
I mean it's really good. It's played in like a lot of decks. Like we were
Yes.
talking about Pheasant Dipty EX being played in a lot of decks, and Badoo's like kind of similar. It's not quite at the same level, but it's like really highly played. It's not as integral to a deck or its game plan as Pheasant Dipty, but it is still very good. So I would say it's too strong, a little bit. But in terms of like balance, it's like kind of all right. I mean, it's like it has 30 HP, it does 10 damage. Like, can I really say this card's like broken? I don't know, but then the issue is, as you said, is like really not fun to play against. It doesn't create super interesting games. It's not like when Badoo happens, like when you use Badoo, something really interesting happens. Like no, nothing happens when Badoo. Like it slows the game down. It kind of gives people time to set up and changes the pace of the
Right.
game. So it has some interesting dynamics, but it also has a lot of not interesting dynamics. So I'd say it really fails at that. It's not. It doesn't lead to. It can lead to some cool things, but leads to more not cool things than cool things.
Yeah, when you have a game and you're going against Badoo and you have like the first 5, 6 turns of the game just basically passing because you can't get set up, it's not fun. If we wanted to address it, I would say a couple things. One, maybe you have to switch to attack again, which obviously that's common to Pokemon. It's got free retreat still, but you have to get two Badoo or something, or you have to have a switch card. So that could be okay. The other thing is make it not a baby Pokemon because the fact it's a baby, yes, it's 30 HP, but it has free retreat and it has no energy, right? If you gave it a retreat cost of one, then all of a sudden it's not as good, or probably even more so if you give it an energy cost of one, all of a sudden, because now you're attacking with Badoo, but you're getting your bench, you're attaching to the bench and stuff. I think making it not a baby would probably be better with this attack on it.
Yeah, I'd say one counterpoint to that because being a baby, obviously it makes it better being a free attack. But
Hmm.
being having a free attack means that you can retreat into it, right? Which is really good. So you can
Yeah.
attach your energy to somewhere else and then retreat.
Yeah.
But if you can't do that, then you'll have to attach to itself. So you want to start it. So people might be playing more Badoos to like counteract that, which isn't like what we're looking for. It's kind of like the boss thing. If you made the
Okay.
boss's orders like more like have some restriction, then people might just be playing more of it, which isn't like really what you're looking for. But
Right.
yeah, I don't hate those restrictions, especially the not being able to attack back to back. I like that, giving it like some limitations.
Yeah, just taking out the kind of mindless ability to just spam Badoos during games, which is obviously that's what makes it so unfun when you're
Yeah,
playing against it.
you just kind of sit there. It's like, oh, we're playing, but we're like not actually playing. We're just like, and because it's not like Badoo gives you some insane positional advantage. It definitely is good, but it's not like all of a sudden you like go. It doesn't give you like the idea is kind of it gets you a turn ahead.
Yeah.
But even if you attack like 5 times with it, you're not 5 turns ahead. You're still 1 turn ahead, maybe, or you're not any further ahead than you were. In my like a lot of the time, you just are kind of in the same spot, so it just kind of delays the game
Yeah, on Badoo, all you're doing is slowing down your opponent.
and
Which
yourself
is
though,
once
because you're not like attacking for
right,
damage
you're not doing
or
meaningful
other damage. Yeah,
damage yet either. So, and just slowing the game down for the sake of slowing the game down is not a positive, I would say.
yeah. But I mean, I'd say, but I kind of see the value in Badoo. Also, it does like reduce, like I've heard some people say like it's good because like it counters item heavy decks, which I kind of get, but I'd also kind of disagree. Like I wouldn't say it's actually changed the metagame like at all. I don't think if Badoo was not here, the metagame would look much different. Maybe a little bit, but um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Vidoo's one where I'm not sure if it really should needs to get nerfed or if it's okay. Let us know in the comments what you think, obviously, because you're not going to agree with all these cards. Do they need nerfing, or adjustments? And then, obviously, let us know better ideas for some of them, the things that you think might be better.
yeah. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed the episode here today. And if you have, as Ancon Fossil said, if you have any like other like suggestions, questions, any of that, leave that down below in our YouTube comment section, youtube.com/10types or Uncommon Fossil. Also, you can check us out on podcasting platforms. You can obviously subscribe and like on YouTube, but you can also do that on podcasting platforms as well. But we hope you enjoyed, and as always, said, see you in the next episode.
Take care.